doing this. Over the last 4 years, I've done many presentations, and most of it has been various versions of giving instructions for something with a smile, showing some slides that have some instructions on and doing all of those. I haven't done a keynote here ever, and I think something I wanted to do is not about me at all. It's about who we are and why it is important to be in a school like Webb, and why schools like ours can really kind of educate for hope when the world is really an uncertain place. The reason that we brought Sunny today, we really wanted to have a student to start the day off, because they're why we're here, right? They're the ones that really bring us hope. And she's carrying that hope in 2 weeks' time to the International Schools Young Musicians competition here in Beijing to perform that piece. She's going to represent us super well. And it's a student that's been energized and inspired by everybody that's worked with her over the few years. And, you know, a sunny child for a sunny day with some sunny music. It's really been brilliant. So this is what we're talking about, and we've had threads and mentions of this idea over the last few years. But more and more after COVID, it's become really important. Because this is the state that we're in as a world, and this is the state that our children already can see. Whether or not what they're seeing is true, they're hearing the stories, they're seeing the news, they're worried, they're picking up on the stories that the parents are talking about and the issues that are happening. Many people might recognize the image in the background, but that's the climate crisis image, and it's showing changes in global temperatures over the year as a piece of art, just to show this kind of vision of what we look like we are in and what we might be heading to. And so the children that we have in our school, you know, they're hearing about environmental crises, political crises, culture wars, physical wars, economic instability, stresses from their parents, stresses from being around the world, right? And that's really hard for us to deal with. It's hard for us to deal with as adults. But having students make sense of it is even more challenging. And so we think about all of this, it's happening right now and it's in the news. But then even the future is more uncertain now than it was just 1 year ago, right? This wave of AI and artificial intelligence creating massive changes for future employment and future careers. And so it's also something that students worry about as well. When we talk to students, the older students, this is the one thing that they do get concerned about. It's not about getting caught cheating or doing any of those things. It's much more existential. What is the path for me now? What is the path that's coming next? When we think about the story of AI 2041, that's what inspired us a few years ago to really start to explore this, before ChatGPT came out and everything. You know, Kai-Fu Lee is here in China. He's written this book along with Chen Shufan, who's a fantastic science fiction writer. And actually their stories are optimistic stories of AI in the future. And what really sang to me with this book was that the characters in this book in 2041 are the elementary school students in our school right now. Right? This is projecting what their life might be like. And it isn't all doom and gloom. And even though we might hear scary stories on the news about what AI might be, there's also many opportunities coming through for our students too. So we've got climate, we've got conflict, we've got AI, we've got economic instability, we've got stressed parents, and we've got a really stressed industry. And we're thinking about how to make this as hopeful as possible. And it is everything, everywhere, all at once for our kids. You might not know, but Kai-Fu Lee's company this week actually released the largest, most powerful open source large language model that exists currently. So the closest thing to being an open access competitor to ChatGPT and all that corporate stuff that we have at the moment. So it would be interesting to see how this develops and how it develops here in China and how China takes the lead. So I've got a little stunt. I promise it's not about me, just I didn't want to put anybody else's identity into this. But this is something that we've tried.
The emergence of generative artificial intelligence already has a massive impact on the world of education.
Cela nous donne l'occasion de réfléchir à comment nous pouvons nous adapter pour améliorer l'enseignement et l'apprentissage de nos étudiants. 然而，我们还需要反思如何使这些说明变得道德、安全和Wir überlegen, wie wir unsere Schüler auf verschiedene Weisen unterrichten können. Persönlichere Wege, Menschen in den Mittelpunkt stellen. 당신, 이 세상이 불확실해질 때 우리 교사들, 학생들, 학부모들이 새로운 세계에서 학문적 진실성과 학습의 소유권이 어떻게 보이는지 이해하는 방법은 무엇인가요? ¿Cómo aseguramos que estas herramientas ayuden a crear un futuro esperanzador y optimista para nuestros estudiantes, donde su agencia, voz, elección y propiedad de aprendizaje sean importantes? 生成 AI への教育への取り組みが必要で、多くの人々の協力が求められます。学習の将来を考える重要な瞬間です。
The emergence.
I learned all those languages so fast, yeah? And a couple of months ago, Kevin and I used one of these with the parents in a parent workshop, and a couple of weeks ago using one in Korean for Korean parenting. And it's demonstrations of this type of power that people aren't aware of. Is not just being afraid of what's changing, but thinking how we can leverage this to make a difference. AI technologies have already been used a lot in, for example, working towards lots of the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, indigenous communities using AI to protect their land from logging and illegal invasion of people taking what's theirs in terms of resourcing. So there's lots of hope on this. But alongside that, there are lots of significant ethical, environmental, social challenges to come to. But we do have the power to make a difference. And some of our students are already trying these technologies out to try to positively make a difference. But why us, right? Why is it important that we do this and we educate for hope and we focus on what's really important in the world? Well, this is us. So think about that yellow dot. That yellow dot's Web. And this is Web in the 1990s. Back in the late 1900s, when Web was founded, there were about 600 or so international schools in the world. Maybe about 500,000 kids being educated in international schools. But when we got to 2012, there were schools offering internationalized curricula, got to 6,000 for the first time. So 6,000 schools around the world offering various flavors of international education. But now in 2023, as of today, I asked somebody yesterday who does the research, 13,967 international schools around the world. Currently there's about 8 million students in international schools. And our school has 1,300-ish. So we're tiny compared to the world, but it's growing very fast. In China today, 1,379 schools that offer some form of internationalized education. That's more than there was in the whole world when WAB was founded, just in China alone. And in Beijing, there's 125. So this is a massive industry that we live in. And some of us might not realize, if we spent a career in schools like WAB along the way, that the whole world around us has changed. This future is also uncertain as well. Even more surprising, only 26% of international education providers have an international accreditation in the world. And even more surprising than that, only 16% of them are not-for-profit. So you think about all of the things that we do at WAB, how we are not the norm, how it's developing in so many interesting and different ways. So 84% of all international schools or schools selling international curriculum are making profit from it. And we don't. We keep all the money coming back into school and to the children's education. In the IB world, there's 5,700 IB schools, or schools that have been authorized to deliver one of the programs. They have authorization, not accreditation. There's only really 645 CIS schools and only 320 NIAS schools. These things that feel like a big deal to us. Actually, when we think about the scale of this industry right now, these are the things that used to guide the industry, and now they're not the norm anymore. Even more interestingly is by 2028, the projections are looking at somewhere between 17 and 18,000 schools delivering internationalized education to about 12 million students around the world. Guess where they all want to go? They all want to go to maybe the same 10 universities, right? So when we see the scale of this too, this is another cause of uncertainty, right? Our students, our learners, WAB learners, they're competing with an ever-growing pool of students around the world who are looking at the same destinations and same careers. So we think about that too, though. When we project to those kind of numbers, And the vast majority of those schools are not carrying accreditations, or they're not carrying some of the programs. What they're really doing is selling this product of international education. And it's been referred to as the McDonaldization of international education. So James Cambridge in 2012 wrote this idea, and previously it existed in higher education. But the McDonaldization of education is thinking about education as profit. This scale of development is really coming through conglomerates, franchises, various big companies, and lots of different ways in which programs and international education are being delivered. So it's really a wildly changed industry that we're in. So when all of the world is starting to look the same, when everything's being McDonaldized and globalized to that point of isomorphism, what do we do about it? It makes us realize that learning at WAB is not normal anymore. Back in the late 1900s, it was schools like WAB that led the world. That's okay. This might work. Hold on. I think you get the idea anyway. So learning at the WAB is not normal, and this is why, right? One of the things that we think about in international education, in our school, in the beliefs that we have, there's two key non-renewable resources that we cannot replace. One of them is time, and the other one is childhood. And in this internationalized, globalized, McDonaldized world, we can see the erosion of childhood happening, the standardization of everything, the pressure on students to be moving in a certain place. And we have to protect those non-renewable resources, how we choose to invest our time, and how we choose to make the most of the childhood of the kids that come to our school. This is how we do it. Time doesn't wait for your dreams, we're living right here and now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Wait for today. Keep chasing the sunshine. The sunshine, go and play. That's just a day at WAB, that's a normal day at WAB, that's not normal anymore. Can you give communications a round of applause? So something that's really important, I think, for us to do is to shine a light on all of those things that we do, right? Shine a light on what makes it really important to be a WAB learner, to share the stories that we have and the amazing things that are going on. If you check WAB News or WAB Weekly or any of those things, there is so much going on here. And it's become so normal to us that sometimes we forget about what's going on. What's every day, what we take for granted is amazing to other people. Even some of the very simple things that we do. And it's because everybody here is working to make that really a powerful learning experience. When we think about how we develop this and help keep hope in the kids too, though, We need to think about how is the world getting better as well. This is the Gapminder graphs showing development over the last 100 years, right? In our curriculum, we can shine a light on all of these things that are making a difference and making positive impacts, not just the negative things, not just the things that are frightening or the causes of conflict. We can shine a light on young people who are making a difference around the world. We know that this idea of eco-anxiety, that the fear that students have of what might be to come or the world they're living in, is really significant. But we also know that kids don't really listen to adults and what they have to say. But if we have examples of people who are making a difference, it can make a difference in how they see the world. It can make a difference in how they feel about how their agency and their choice matters in what they do. And every single global issue already has a solution. The solutions are already there. They already exist. And in many cases, it's young people, young companies, young organizations who are able to show this, including our own alumni. So then we can also shine a light on this idea of student agency, of moving away from what it is that frightens them, to having ownership in their learning. This is just from the grade 6 garden. There are many examples across the whole school, right, where students are taking control of learning, help change things, and given themselves and given the school that sense of power that we are able to do something, even in little ways, right? If students' choices matter, it builds up to this sense that they have the power to do something worthwhile. Something that's really important, I think, in this age now, in 2023 and beyond, is to kind of cut the catastrophe from the curriculum. Not to make people blind to what's happening in the world and not to create a bigger bubble, but to not just focus on the doom and gloom. Like, think about those resources, those stories that we use. If we're thinking about critical issues, how do we move quickly into the space also of how those issues can and are being solved, and what young people are able to do it, yeah? The resources, the videos that we choose, those types of things, they all send messages about the world to students. Something that's really interesting, right? Thinking about the AI work. If you see this, the World Economic Forum's Jobs Report, Future of Jobs Report 2023, the most desirable skills of the future are the skills that WAB learners are learning today. The approaches to learning skills, those ability to be innovative, to be creative, to be able to work with others, to use empathy, and to learn amongst others. And so what we're doing, that sense of agency that schools like this, that this school in particular, develops in students, what we do as we work alongside the programs and helping guide through the programs, that's what's getting them into that state. And you don't just need to take my word for it. We were working with grade 12 students a couple of weeks ago on future career pathways and AI and what might be available. And this is what they were saying at the end. The question was, how's WAB helping you adapt to an uncertain future? Being a WAB learner keeps me open to all sorts of new ways of learning in terms of how to tackle the challenge and think critically. Being a WAB learner will help me adapt in the future by teaching me to be self-motivated, self-reflective, and to face any situation without fear or failure of troubles. I'm going to finish that to the last slide from the student that's up there. But this is what happens when the students come to our school, and through elementary school, middle school, and high school, building on that sense of agency and hope, and the hope that they've got for the future, is also going to help them thrive in the future, sell themselves well, and potentially make a difference. The IB has launched its Festival of Hope as well, and we'd love to see more examples of students from WAB and the work that they're doing being represented across the Festival of Hope, again to show more young people making a difference. And there's us in 20 years' time, 5 years' time perhaps even. What I believe, what I really hope, is that if we keep shining light on all the really good stuff that happens at our school, on the positive ways to make a difference with agency, the ways in which our students can take action on things, that we're not just doing it for our students, but we're doing it for that radically changed international education environment as well. And we already know that WAB is a beacon for many people. It's a place that people want to come to, but it's also a place that people learn from too. So by shining a light on all of this, we can spread the influence quite a bit more to try to connect, inspire, and challenge, and make a difference in international education for our kids and for kids all over the world. That's where we are. I have one thing, I don't know, this is way outside my comfort zone, but I'm going to get really cheesy. Everybody's got a phone in their pocket. Yeah? And what I'd like you to do, people have already started to do it. And if you turn the house lights down a little bit. I like it, it's kind of working. This is not correct, is it? Technology, man. I hate technology, actually. Really. Culture, the culture of a school beats technology any day. That's why we're okay. We cannot be technocratic. We cannot run into this space just trying to be flashy things, although we're doing one right now. Hold on. This is looking good, though. Okay, I'm going to hide myself in here. I don't want to be in the picture. Okay. Is it working? Let's see if this works. Everybody, let's shine a light and do something super positive. It's the web way.
Yeah, where?
It's working, all right. So, thanks a lot. Even like a minute before the presentation, I thought, am I going to cut that bit? Is it too cheesy? It's not very British. But we had to go. Thank you for today. There's amazing people doing amazing things all around the world. And I just wanted people to see that hope is critically important for our kids. We are not normal anymore, and we're becoming less and less normal. And the world needs schools like this, and it needs places like this to make a difference. And it's because everybody here is so amazing. Thank you so much.